Morning. Hear the birds? Not a draft of wind this morning. Still humid and wet, so it's still mosquito weather. But while we're feeling good, we gotta do what we gotta do, right? It's actually a beautiful day. It's dull, so I don't have to wear sunglasses. It's comfortably warm. And if you ignore the mosquitoes, which this net helps me do, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to be cutting some more firewood. But I did get to another step further with this a couple of days ago. So I decided I'd take the time now and record some of my thoughts here and compress it into a video of some sort. See, I've got most of the branches all piled up. I've got one habitat pile there and then another habitat pile here. I'm not sure what I think the fog that I'm seeing is actually on the screen, not on the video itself. There's some branches laying around, but it is attached to, they are attached to bigger pieces. So all of these smaller pieces that you see lying around the ground here now, throw them up into a pile. The ideal is that I'll have a separate area and have storage of these for starting fires, and if I want to put in a couple small ones just to finish filling up the wood stove, I'd have these off separately. I have an area that would take about a cord of them if I got a cord, and then these bigger junks, they will go into a separate area in the basement which takes 3.5 cords, and then I put some out in the driveway. Our first starting the stove would be in late September, early October. We start the occasional fire to keep to warm up the house. Snow doesn't fly now until almost Christmas time or later, depending on the year. So January the 1st, I can make sure I've got that 3.5 cords right full, and I can bar up the basement door, and it would take me through until the snow melts. Now, making these piles, there's several reasons for making them. There's a lot of people who would burn these just to get them out of their way, which is really a utter waste of resources. You end up with a bit of ash at the end, but not much. Then there's the ideal of biochar, which I'm not saying it doesn't do what they proclaim it will do. If you had the charcoal, then yeah, it's a good additive to the garden. But I'm not convinced that its benefits outweighs the cons of you're really destroying a lot of organic matter to make the biochar. Because you get this big pile, and even when this is chipped down, it'll be a much more organic matter than the slow release. You release a lot of carbon and denature a lot of the structure of most of the pile. All those leaves and that will be rendered useless in making biochar. This way, however, all of the insects that would have been in dead trees and in the dead branches and that, they can still inhabit the wood in this pile. Many small mammals, voles, rabbits, squirrels, they like these piles. So it's habitat for them. There are small birds that overwinter, and on especially cold or stormy nights, they look for little cavities to get into, and they could fly into the outside of these piles to protect themselves on these cold winter nights. So that's good. Now a little bit in a future video I'm going to check. I think there is a good direct benefit to me to make these piles, but it's still an ongoing thing, and I'm going to check it out hopefully in the next few weeks. Okay, so let's give it a good swing around here now. You can see there's, seems like you've got a big clearing. Well, it's not all that big, but it's a clearing, about 3,000 square feet maybe, if that. 8 years ago, all of these small trees, they were not here. I cut down some, you can still see the stumps. I cut down some trees here, and I didn't know at the time how I was going to continue to tend to the forest, so I stopped. And this is just natural regrowth. We've got a forest that's 10, 12 feet high, some of the trees, and that one up there is especially tall. If I were to just leave this up to nature, then that's basically what I'd have in 8 years' time. Right now I can walk through, and some of these are birch and some of them are aspen. I really can't tell at this size which is which. That dead pine there, actually no, there's a fir. That was dead before. I did mention it on one other video that I don't know why it died. See, here's an aspen. I think that will be an aspen, and these would be birch, I think. There's several of those growing up here. Here I've got a small fir and another fir over there. So you see many little seedlings that it looks like it's a open clearing, but nature has already started to put trees back in there. This is a relative of aspen. It's not aspen. This is the honey locust that I had buried in branches, and I was hoping I had not killed it, and apparently I didn't. It's doing just fine. So I have little trees here, but as you can see, where I cut down the trees on the bank, the sun got in, and those few small ones, they shot right up, and there'll be trees here now just shooting up like crazy. Every one of the honey locusts that I put here, I think it was 8. Anyway, they're all leaved out well and apparently going to grow well. More here. And now when I get the firewood out of it, I can look this over and decide where I want to plant trees, because I've got a lot of trees that I can transplant up here. Another thing to point out though, you see this? This is what birch do. If you cut down a healthy birch, they'll send up a clump from the roots. So there's going to be a clump of birch there. I haven't heard of anybody using birch for coppicing, but that's what birch do. And if it does that, I don't see why you can't use birch for coppicing. Let them grow up, and there'll be many stalks. When they get to firewood size, you just cut one out at a time, and the tree will still keep on living and keep sending up new shoots. You can look at it over this. Now, exactly how many of them are aspen and How many are birch, I don't know. But look at all the seedlings that nature has already started. And a spruce. Another spruce over there. They look like birch. I can't let them grow there. That dogwood, actually I think that dogwood's on the neighbor's side of the fence anyway. I'll let that grow. But I could see about digging up some of these birch and plant out in different areas up above, because they're right beside the fence and they're just going to be in the way of a lot of things if I let them grow right here. I saw this little tree as soon as it started growing, and I deliberately avoided running it over and keeping it cut down because I thought I'd let it grow a bit, and when I decide where to put it, I'd transplant it. So here now we've got a spruce that I can transplant above. I mean, it's right beside the house, can't let it grow there, right? And as we come over here, remember that's the red maple there and the common maple. Come in, dog pen used to be here, so it's mostly dog manure that has fertilized this area. But you got some plants that's growing awfully good here. A thorn here. Look at the size of those. Look at the size of the leaves on that dandelion. And a beautiful dock. But here's a maple tree. There's the pole to the pole line. So I can't let that maple tree grow there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I should dig up and transplant. There's another one over right here. So that's 6 maples ready to go to be transplanted up above. This maple in here, it's far enough away from the pole line and that until it's in the way. If I say putting a greenhouse there or something, I'll just let it grow and do its thing. Here's the trees I started in the house. There's 5 black locusts. The spice bush, now I've got to check into it again. I think they're a forest hedge species, so they'll go along beside the roadway that's going up through the property. There's 4 of those. This is that winter sowing experiment that I did. I've got 6 black locusts right there. The honey locusts are hard to sprout. You can see one seed that came up out of the soil there, but there's nothing growing that I can see yet. Nothing of the Siberian pea shrub. The redbud tree, remember the ones that came in pods? When I separated it out as seed in the house, I didn't get anything to grow, but I put it out here in winter sow, and there's 5 that are growing well, and there's this one down here that seems to be taking its sweet time to coming out, but you can see the green leaf there. So that's, I guess, it'll be 6. It might be more, because I think this might actually be 2 trees coming out of the one pod. So 6 redbud trees. Now they're a partial shade tree, so I think that's one that would be good to plant in that little clearing that I have made now. So along with that, and I could go down the road, and in several places you get little seedlings popping up that you know they're not going to survive because they're just too thick, or they're in the ditch or something like that, right? So you could dig them up, bring them here, transplant them out, and have a new forest growing really fast. Sustainability. People talk about sustainability. You go through especially the homesteading groups and sustainable this, sustainable that, and they want to be sustainable. I wonder what they mean by sustainable. Not only that, I quite often think that when they say sustainable, it means that they can personally keep doing what they're doing for their lifetime. To me, sustainable means that you can keep doing what you're doing without any reduction in the resource base. So whatever resources you're using, they are being regenerated just as fast as you're using them, or faster. If I come through here and I just cut down the trees for firewood and just leave everything, and I got the branches just left all over the ground and everything, let nature take care of itself, it will eventually grow back. How long it will take? It would take quite a lot longer than if I put the branches up into habitat piles like I have. I still have my small mammals running around to be that part of the ecosystem. And then I take crowded trees and I spread them out, transplant them out here where they can grow to their max. I can start trees from seed. I can have them growing in buckets. When they get up so high, I can plant them out. I can help the ecosystem grow much faster, and thereby my consumption can be higher. Then I think about, okay, how much do I need? Don't be wasteful. Those little sticks that I'm using, I mean, they're useful. As I said in another video, use the entire tree. I use that. I'll take some of the branches and I'll chip them up to add to the humus layer, rather than having just mineral soil, both here and down in the garden. And then, right now I'm saying 6 cords. How much will it take to produce 6 cords if I help nature as opposed to just letting nature do its thing? One of these, this tree I'm sitting on, I believe was 70 years old. I would need 2 acres, letting nature do its thing for 70 years to keep me going in firewood, spruce and fir. If, however, I do the tree transplants, like I said, I might cut that down quite a bit. It's not a forestry thing like you need to keep, it's not very labor intensive really. It's just plant out the trees. Every once in a while you go walk through and you'll see that, okay, these trees are interfering with each other. It's better for me to just chop that one down and either add it to a habitat pile, chip it up, or use it in some other way. Just little things like that, but no real amount of tending to really. And then, depending on what I choose the trees, and plant out an understory of perennials, so that like the honey locust, you can take the pods and use them as a substitute for cocoa. Oh, the apple trees too. I have several apple trees that I can plant out around. Apple trees, once they get going, they're excellent firewood. They're excellent for carving and tool handles, that kind of thing. And you can coppice them. So choosing what trees you let grow and then just basically walking through and planting out perennials here and there, and what survives, survives. I believe that you can make an area like this extremely productive and cut way down on the amount of space that you need for firewood, and make it also a place that you could go and forage for other forest products, whether it be the berries and root crops down below, or like I say, the fruit up in the trees. I think I'll leave it at that for now. I'm going to cut some trees, so I'm going to put the camera away, and after I wear myself out cutting firewood, I'll take a rest and edit this video. Hope you enjoyed it, found it interesting, and I'll see you in the next one.